Hey everyone, welcome back. So I uploaded this reel recently and so many of you were asking me, how did you edit this? What are the sound effects? How does the sound design work? So today I'm doing a full tutorial. Okay, so I already have my voiceover in the timeline. First, I create a new white color mat. Go to the project panel, click New Item, choose Color Mat, and select White. I add it to my timeline. Then I cut the color mat at the point where this first scene ends, so it only covers Scene 1. Now I go to Effects and add a vignette effect to the white color matte layer. This gives us a subtle dark edge around the frame, just a light vignette to stop the edges from feeling too flat and bright. Really small detail, but it adds production value. I grab the text tool and type my first text. Now, a little trick, because I already wrote the script, I just copy and paste the words directly from my notes. Saves a lot of time instead of typing everything fresh in Premiere. I select the text, go to Properties, and first change the color to black. Then I change the font to Helvetica Regular. Clean, simple, and very readable. I center align the text and reduce the size until it feels balanced on screen. Now here's how I make each word appear exactly when the speaker says it. Without creating a separate layer for every single word, I use the crop technique. I cut the text layer at the exact point where the speaker says the second word. Then I go to Effects, add the crop effect to the first piece of the text layer, and slide the crop handle to hide the second word. The full project file, all the assets, and all the premium sound effects are available for YouTube members. So if you haven't joined yet, now is a great time. You'll get the complete project file with every animation and every sound effect already placed and ready to study. I go to New Item Color Mat, and this time I select a maroon color. Pick the shade you like best. I add it to the timeline for this scene. Now I need the same vignette effect on this maroon color mat. Instead of adding it from scratch, I simply copy the vignette effect from the white color mat and paste it here. Same result, done in 2 seconds. I copy and paste the text layer from scene 1. Font is already set, size is already there. I just retype the new text for this scene. First thing I do is change the text color from black to white, since we're on a dark background now. Then I decrease the size slightly. Now in this line, there's one word that needs to stand out. A highlighted featured word. I select just that specific word in the text and change its font to Edwardian script. This is a beautiful, elegant italic script font that looks completely different from the regular Helvetica text next to it. I increase the size of this highlighted word so it's clearly bigger and more prominent than the surrounding words. The contrast between the plain regular text and the large flowing script word looks really cinematic. Then I copy and paste this text layer forward and retype the next line of text. Same rule, most words are regular Helvetica, and the last highlighted word gets the Edwardian script treatment at a bigger size. Now I grab the text tool and type 1/2. This represents the word half, as the speaker says half time in the voiceover. I make this text bigger and place it below the 2 text layers, but here's the thing. I want this 1/2 text to feel like it's behind the scene, slightly faded at the bottom, not fully visible. To do that, I go to Effect Controls and create a mask. I draw the mask roughly around the bottom portion of the text. Then I increase the feather value to make the edges soft, and I invert the mask. Now the bottom of the text fades out smoothly, and it feels like the text is disappearing into the background. Really nice depth effect. For this text, I want it to slide up from below into its final position. A bottom to top reveal. I go to Effect Controls and turn on the Position keyframe. At the first keyframe, I move the text downward from its final position. At the second keyframe, the text is back in its original position on screen. I select the last keyframe, right-click, choose Ease In, open the graph editor, and adjust the curve so the animation starts fast and slows down as it arrives. Clean, smooth, satisfying. This scene is looking really good. Let's keep moving. I need a white background here, so I copy and paste the white color matte from the first scene. Easy. Then I add the Google search bar PNG to the timeline and drop it into the frame. I position it where I need it on screen. Now I need text that appears inside the search bar. I copy the text layer from the previous scene and edit it. I retype the first search term. I decrease the size so it fits neatly inside the search bar and adjust the position. Then I copy this text layer 2 more times and retype the second and third search terms. Because the speaker mentions 3 words or phrases, so we show all 3 appearing in the search bar one at a time. Here's the effect. Now when the speaker says the second word, the first word rolls upward and disappears out the top of the search bar, and the second word slides in from the bottom. Then the same thing happens for the third word. It looks exactly like a real Google search bar auto-correcting or suggesting results. To build this, I add a transform effect to one of the text layers. In the transform settings, first thing, set the shutter angle to 180 degrees. This gives us motion blur on the movement, which makes it feel smooth and real. Now I turn on the position keyframe. The first keyframe has the text starting below the search bar, off screen at the bottom. The second keyframe has the text in its final position inside the search bar, so it slides up into the bar. That's the entrance animation. For the exit animation on the same layer, the first keyframe is the text in its original position inside the bar. The second keyframe moves the text upward until it's above the search bar and off screen, so it slides out the top. I select the exit keyframe, right-click, and choose Ease In. So the text accelerates as it leaves, which makes the exit feel snappy. I make the graph so it starts slow and moves fast at the end. Then for the entrance keyframe, I choose Ease Out, so it enters fast and decelerates into its position. The graph here starts slow and moves fast. Watch the video closely if the keyframe direction feels confusing. Once you see it in motion, it makes total sense. There's one problem. The text slides in from below, but right now you can see the text outside the search bar too. We need the text to only be visible while it's inside the search bar boundaries. Easy fix. I go to Effect Controls and create a rectangle mask around the search bar area. Now anything outside the mask is invisible. The text only appears when it's inside the search bar, exactly like a real search bar. When I play it back, the text slides up inside the bar, and you can't see it entering from below. Perfect. I copy the transform effect and paste it onto the other text layers so they all roll the same way. For the first text, I delete the entrance animation. It's already visible when the scene starts, so we only need its exit. I check the mask and notice it needs a small adjustment on the first text because the text is longer. So I go into the transform settings and fine-tune the mask position slightly. For the last text, I delete the exit animation. It stays in the search bar at the end of the scene. When everything looks good, I select all layers, all text layers in the Google search bar, right-click, and nest them. Then I go to Effect Controls on the nested layer and turn on the Scale keyframe. I create two keyframes, starting slightly small and growing to the final size. Just a subtle zoom in that makes the whole scene feel alive and breathing rather than static. If the search bar animation felt a bit complex, the full project file has every keyframe mapped out so you can click through it yourself at your own pace. Join the membership to get it. Members, it's already in the post section waiting for you. I copy and paste the previous maroon color mat here for the background. Then I copy and paste the text layers from the previous scene and retype my new text, keeping the same font setup with the regular text and the highlighted Edwardian script word. Now for the typewriter effect. Go to Effects and search for Typewriter Impacts. Drag and drop it onto your text layer. Also, before you add this effect, make sure your text layer does not overlap with the previous layer in the timeline. The Typewriter Impacts effect works like a transition. It needs a clean start point. So, if needed, move your text layer slightly forward in the timeline so there's no overlap with what came before. One important note, this effect is only available in Premiere Pro 2025 or above. So if you're on an older version, please update first. When the typewriter starts, I want the text to also be sliding from right to left into its final position. This creates a really dynamic, intentional entry. I right-click the text layer and nest it first. Then on the nested layer, I go to Effect Controls and turn on the Position keyframe. The first keyframe has the text positioned slightly to the right of its final position. The last keyframe is the text in its original natural position. I right-click the last keyframe, choose Ease In, and open the graph editor. I adjust the curve so the animation starts fast and slows down as it lands. The text slides in from the right while simultaneously typing itself out. It looks incredible. Now this is the scene everyone loves, the bouncing, sliding text animation. It feels very alive and satisfying. Let's build it. White background again. I copy from the previous white color mat. Then I copy the text layer and retype my new text. I decrease the size a bit. In this line, the last word is our highlighted word. I change its font to the highlighted script font and increase its size. I also change its color to a slightly red maroon, a bit more on the red side than the regular maroon so it's clearly visible against the white background. Now I need to split this text line into two separate layers so I can animate each part independently. I duplicate the text layer. On the first layer, I delete the last two words, keeping only the beginning of the sentence. On the second layer, I delete the starting words, keeping only the end of the sentence, including the highlighted word. Now both layers together form the complete sentence, but I can animate them separately. Then I add the highlighted word as its own separate layer. Same font, same red color, and I position it below the two text layers as you can see on screen. Now here's the key technique for the bounce effect. I select the first text layer, go to Effects, Add Transform, and set the shutter angle to 360 degrees, maximum motion blur. This gives us that beautiful blurry smear on fast movement. Now I turn on the Position keyframe, and I'm going to create 4 keyframes. Watch this carefully. Keyframe 1. The text starts off to the right of the screen, outside the frame. Keyframe 2. A few frames forward, the text moves to the left, slightly past its final resting position. It overshoots. Keyframe 3. A few frames forward, the text moves back to the right a little, but not as far as the start. Still past center, but not as extreme as keyframe 2. Keyframe 4, the final keyframe. The text is now in its correct final position on screen. This back and forth motion between keyframes 2, 3, and 4 is what creates the bounce feeling. Now I open the graph editor and adjust the curves to get a smooth, organic bounce motion. Watch the screen to copy the exact graph shape. Once you're happy with how it looks, copy the transform effect and paste it onto the second text layer. Both parts of the text now bounce in together. For the highlighted word at the bottom, I want the same bounce effect but coming from the left side instead of the right. Same 4 keyframe technique but mirrored. The text starts on the left, overshoots to the right, bounces back, and settles in position. Watch how I set up the keyframes and the graph on screen for this one. The logic is the same, but the direction is reversed. This looks absolutely amazing. The 2 text sections bounce in from opposite sides, and the highlighted word comes in from the other direction. It feels very dynamic and alive. Last scene. We're back on maroon, and this time we're combining the typewriter effect on the regular text with a flicker effect on the highlighted word. And then a really cool animated line on top. Let's finish strong. I copy and paste the maroon color matte from the previous maroon scene. Then I copy the text layer and retype my new regular text with the highlighted word alongside it. Same setup. Helvetica for the regular text. Edwardian script for the highlighted word, bigger size. I duplicate the text layer and type my highlighted text. I use the same highlighted font, make it bigger, and place it above the regular text, as shown on screen. Same as before, I add the typewriter impacts effect to the bottom, regular text layer. Remember, make sure the layer doesn't overlap previous layers, and this effect requires Premiere Pro 2025 or above. Default settings work perfectly here. For the highlighted word, instead of the typewriter effect, I want a flicker, like a light turning on, switching rapidly between visible and invisible. This is very simple. I go to Effect Controls and turn on the opacity keyframe. Now I quickly alternate between 100% and 0% opacity. Back and forth, back and forth. First keyframe 100%, next keyframe 0%, next 100%, next 0%, and so on. I do this around 2 to 3 times. The highlighted word flickers on and off rapidly and then stays visible. It looks like a light bulb flickering to life. And later, when we add the light bulb sound effect to match this exact moment, it's going to feel incredible. Now for a really cool finishing touch. I'm adding an animated line element on top of the text. I use the Premiere Composer extension for this. Premiere Composer is a free plugin. You can download it from their website and install it in Premiere Pro. Once it's installed, go into the Step Elements section and you'll find a collection of animated line elements. I pick the line I want and add it to my timeline. It's too big by default, so I decrease the size and reposition it where I need it. Then I change the color to a slightly yellowish tone so it's clearly visible against the dark maroon background. I also decrease the stroke width slightly to make it feel more refined. This animated line sits on top of the text and adds a graphic, editorial feeling to the whole scene. And that's the visual edit done. The reel is built. Let's step back and see what we've created, and then move into the sound design. Okay, this is the part so many of you asked about, the sound design. All of these sound effects, every single one, are included in the full project file for members. Join the membership and you'll get everything ready to drop straight into your project. Right at the very start of the reel, I add a charge sound effect. This is a sharp, energetic burst of sound that immediately grabs attention within the first second. Its only job is to hook the viewer before they even process what they're looking at.
Most editors wait.
You hear this sound on a lot of big creator reels, and there's a reason for that. It works. Also, at the very start, I layer in a radio beep sound effect. I place it right alongside the charge sound at the beginning.
Most editors.
It's a little busy there in the first second, but that's intentional. You want to create an audio hook that makes the viewer snap to attention. I decrease the volume so it doesn't overpower the voiceover. Just enough presence to be felt. When the first words appear in scene 1, I add the typewriter sound effect. I have a short clip of typing sounds, just a small section of it, and I place it right at the moment the text appears. It syncs the visual of words appearing with the audio feeling of someone typing them. Very satisfying combination. When the scene changes from scene 1 to scene 2, I add a viral trending sound effect here. You'll recognize this one. It's the kind of sound that feels very current and social media native.
Waste half their
I also decrease the volume so it sits under the voice without competing with it. Along with the scene change sound, I also layer in a snap or clap sound effect together with a flash sound effect at the same scene change point. These two combined, the snap and the flash, create a sharp, punchy transition.
waste half their
It feels like a camera flash going off as the scene cuts. Very clean and impactful.
waste half their time.
Quick note, I realized I forgot to add the typewriter impacts visual effect on the first text in scene 2. I add it now. And of course, with the typewriter visual effect, I also add the typewriter sound effect here as well.
Waste half their time.
Audio and visual working together.
Waste half their time searching for assets. Sound effect.
When the scene changes into the Google search bar scene, I use a metallic hit sound effect. This has a heavier, more mechanical feeling, like something locking into place. Combined with a deep bass sound effect layered underneath it, the two together create a satisfying, low-frequency thud that signals to the viewer that something new and important is happening. This combination is great for moments you want to feel weighty.
Sound effect.
When the text starts rolling up inside the Google search bar, that scrolling effect we built, I add a slow, deep whoosh sound effect. This matches the upward movement of the text with an audio sweep. The combination of the visual scroll and the slow whoosh sounds cinematic and intentional, not just decorative.
Fonts.
Moving into the next scene, I add the typewriter sound effect again for the typewriter text, along with a whoosh for the scene change.
They don't have a library.
These two together, the whoosh landing into a typewriter clatter, create a very satisfying audio transition. Keep the volume in check so neither overpowers the voice.
They don't have a library.
Same as before for the next scene change. Metallic hit combined with a slowdown sound effect. The slowdown sound creates the feeling that momentum is building up before something new drops. It's great for suspense. When you hear metallic hit plus slowdown together, your brain subconsciously feels like something important is about to happen. Perfect for keeping viewers hooked. Always make sure your sound effects are not louder than the voiceover. Constantly check your levels and bring the effects down if anything is competing with the voice.
So they start
When the bounce sliding text animation happens in scene 5, that satisfying
from
thump and
0.
bounce, I add a UI pop sound effect. This is one of those sounds that feels incredibly satisfying when it's perfectly synced with a bouncing animation.
So they start from 0 every time.
The pop matches the moment the text lands. It feels tactile, like the text has physical weight. This is easily one of the most satisfying audiovisual combos in the whole reel.
I fixed that problem.
For the typewriter visual effect in scene 6, I add the typewriter sound effect again. This is my favorite sound-visual pairing in the whole video. When the highlighted word flickers on and off, I place a light bulb sound effect right at that exact moment.
That problem.
The visual looks like a light flickering, and the sound is a light bulb buzzing and flickering. It's a perfect match. The viewer might not consciously notice it, but they will feel it. That's what great sound design does. For the last scene change, I use a riser sound effect. A riser builds anticipation. The pitch and energy rise upward, creating a feeling that something is about to peak. It's perfect for the final scene because it signals to the viewer that we're heading toward the conclusion. It keeps the energy high all the way to the end. And finally,
0 every time. I fixed that problem.
I'm using Death of Bluebird as the background track. It sets the perfect mood under everything. Now the most important thing, the background music absolutely cannot overpower either the sound effects or the voiceover. To handle this, I add the simple parametric EQ effect to the background music audio layer. In effect controls, I set the Q to 4 and the boost to -10. This dips the frequencies that most compete with the human voice and with punchy sound effects. Then I also reduce the overall volume level of the music to -5 decibels.
Most editors waste half their time searching for assets, sound effects, fonts, PNGs. They don't have a library, so they start from zero every time. I fix that problem.
If you want all the sound effects, all the assets, and the complete project file ready to open and study, join the YouTube membership. Everything is there. The link is on screen and in the description. Members, it is already uploaded in the post section. Thank you so much for the support. I'll see you in the next one. Keep editing. Peace.